welcome to this Going Hollywood episode of the Mazza's Musings podcast. Yes, today we are heading actually south. For us, it's south anyway, instead of west, and we are living that Hollywood lifestyle with Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World. And joining me in this episode is Eileen, who is going to play a little more Love It, Like It, Leave It with me, this time at Hollywood Studios, which, of course, was formerly known as MGM Studios. Shout out to the Dillos Diz and hashtag always MGM. Hollywood Studios is a park that has really evolved over the years and now has taken on a much different kind of role than it once had. But even with that, there are our old favorites and some newer things that we have found that we really love. So we're going to talk about all of it. Of course, it's an exciting week this week. I've been trying to wrap my head around all the possible trade scenarios and such for the NFL draft and who my team, the Patriots, is going to take and who everybody else is going to take. And it's been a mind bender. Let me tell you something else that's a mind bender. That is Meghan's choice for this week's joke of the week. She switched it up. This is not your classic joke. This is a little bit of a head-scratching riddle. So here you go. Flex those brain muscles today. Hi, Meghan.
Hi.
Do you have a joke for us today?
Yes. I have 3 letters. I read the same forward and backward. I know you'll get this answer. I know you'll see. It's a word that's important to you and me. What word am I?
I don't know. This is a tough riddle.
I.
Good one.
Spelled E-Y-E.
Excellent. See, I told you that it was something that you'd have to, use a little bit of brain power for. Not your classic joke, but Meghan's bringing something a little bit unique to this podcast, and we love it. And what else do we love? Well, a lot of things at Hollywood Studios. So Eileen and I are going to get right into that. And here we go.
Donald, wake up! It's showtime! Don't forget the orchestra!
Ah, there you are. And just in time.
Mom says there's even more magical stuff now.
For those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails throughout our journey and stay clear of the doors.
Hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
And here we go!
Okay, so Eileen and I are here to do another round of Love It, Like It, Leave It. And this time we are going to Hollywood Studios. Now, Hollywood Studios is a park that's in a little bit of a transition. There's been some announcements of some things that are going to be happening, in terms of changes to that park. But what we're talking about, for the most part, is what it is now in this moment of time. Now, I did throw in some of the things that are going to be coming as a last category to kind of which of the things that are coming, which you would love,
or at least
leave
theoretically.
Some of these things are going to be coming quicker than others. Obviously, the shows are imminent, whereas something like the Monsters, Inc. land...
It's going to take a lot longer.
Right. But I thought that would be a fun exercise to tack in at the end. And for those who haven't listened to the other episodes, basically the idea here is we are presented with 3 things, and usually they're part of the same group, whether it's thrill rides or dark rides or shows places to eat, whatever. And we have to pick one that we love. It's the thing we can't do without out of those three. One that we like, which is something that's okay. We're fine with having it around, and something that we are totally okay with ditching from the park. So, we've talked about Hollywood Studios before as kind of a park that went through this like awkward teenage phase, because it used to be something completely different than it is now. It used to be much more of a, you're looking at me like
No,
we
I
didn't
don't
have this
ever
conversation.
recall talking about an awkward teenage phase.
This was in one of our much earlier episodes, but basically it used to be something else. It used to like really be designed to make you feel like you were on a movie set.
Yeah, no, I recall those conversations, just not the...
And then there was a transition to more what it is now, but there was a time in between where it didn't feel like it knew what it was. And I feel like it's finally coming into its own a little bit, but at the same time, some of these changes feel a little weird. Like, I love the idea of the Monsters Inc. thing, but having it between two Star Wars, like between Galaxy's Edge and Star Tours, there's a weird like lack of connectivity.
I don't think Star Tours is going to be there forever, personally. I mean, I don't know. Because of like what you said. I mean, it's with, but it's kind of just there in its own like pocket. And yeah, but that, yeah, it seems like it's Hollywood Studios very much seems like it's kind of going with that like land theme.
Yeah, it's completely gone away from the whole idea of, we're putting you on a movie set. Now it seems that they are more interested in putting you inside the movie.
Yeah. I'll be curious. I mean, to see if they do anything eventually with like that Sunset Boulevard area, because that's though, like, they've got the different lands kind of spread out throughout, and they're going to add a new one in there. Just curious if they're going to end up adjusting that at all to fit with more of a, because that, with the way they're making it like different lands based on different movies, that doesn't fit with the way they're going.
Yeah, unless it's one of those things where they're going to keep that as like the vintage area, and
Yeah, I mean, I don't want them to change it.
No,
I do like it, but
like I don't think that even I think that it can work that way, because even though there's all the other lands in Magic Kingdom, it's not interfering with there being Main Street,
yeah.
So I think it could still work in that way. But I think that any future development is going to be more focused on, putting you like in the movies, as opposed to what it used to be was putting you in the production. All right, so we're going to get started, and we are going to start with, so these are, I'm not sure, they don't really fit into like a specific ride category, but these are 3 rides that don't fall into, they're not thrill rides, or that's necessarily, it's kind of a catch-all for other rides, we'll put it that way. Okay, so the first one is Alien Swirling Saucers. Now remember, this is you, not what Meghan wants. Alien Swirling Saucers, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and Toy Story Mania.
Yeah, I can see those being grouped together. Okay.
Got to pick one to love, to like, and to leave.
I think I love. I'm gonna go with love Mickey and Minnie's, like Toy Story Mania, and I'll leave the saucers behind. Don't let Meghan listen to this part. Yeah. Really, I was going back and forth between between the saucers and Mickey and Minnie. But I guess it's a Mickey and Minnie ride, and it's the only one in any of the parks, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to give that the love it. Whereas, I really do like Toy Story Mania, but if I want the Toy Story experience, I can get it elsewhere. And I'm really bad at shooting games. So, and the saucers, they're the saucers. I love going on them. Meghan would go on them all day, every day. But if I never went on them again either, I probably would forget about them.
Yeah, that's fair. I was originally going to have Love It, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. The one thing that I wish about that was that they would update the queue area a little bit more, especially like once you're inside the theater. It feels like
Outdated.
it feels like they half-assed it, honestly, because the inside of the theater really hasn't changed from the Great Movie Ride. Outside of,
And I think that's the idea but they could incorporate they could do it.
But it feels lazy. If you're going to change something, change it,
I know. I think that was so like they had like the Chinese theater,
you could still keep the facade of the Chinese theater. I think that the outside of the Chinese theater is what people are more attached to than the inside of the building. I just feel like I understand what they're going at with it, because it's like, okay, come on in and watch this movie that you end up like crashing through the screen, whatever. I just feel like it feels only halfway done, so that would be the critique of that. It's still, the ride itself is a love it. I initially had Alien Swirling Saucers as my like it, mainly because I stink at Toy Story Mania. I'm terrible at Toy Story Mania. And I've watched like videos with tips on how to be better, and I am just awful at it. So but I think you're right. If the Swirling Saucers were to go away tomorrow, I think the biggest disappointment would be for Meghan. It wouldn't be for me. So if I'm talking about what I look for in a ride, it's fun. I'm never going to say no to riding it, but if it were to go away, then that would be the one that if it went away, I would feel the least upset about. So I think that's the tiebreaker. So thanks to your insight, I pivoted. All right, so the next ones are thrill rides, quote unquote. We've got Slinky Dog Dash, Rock and Roller Coaster, and Tower of Terror.
That's hard. I mean, my leave it's you wish. My leave it's Tower of Terror. But I think I'm gonna go Love It, Slink, Like It, Rock and Roller Coaster, Leave It, Tower of Terror. And I love both of those rides, but I have I get very anxious ahead of time on a ride, like going into Rock and Roller Coaster. Like, I'm like super anxious about it.
She does.
Even though I've been on it not a million times, but I know what it is. I know but I get big anxiety leading up to it. So I think like that I could do without the anxiety. Whereas Slink Dog, I don't have that. So I think I'll do Slink Dog, Rock and Roller Coaster. And then, Tower of Terror, I can definitely leave behind. I've been on it a few times. You and I have never been on it together, right? Have you ever been on it?
I've never been on it.
Okay. And you guys have heard my story about dragging my sister on it. Not even dragging her, but she wanted to do a big kid ride, and that's what we took her on. And so I've been on it, but I dread the day where Meghan one day wants to go on it.
Well, I think that I have them ranked the same. Initially, I was thinking Rock and Roller Coaster would be my love it, but I think that originally I was thinking of like its uniqueness, and that uniqueness doesn't really exist anymore. They do have more like, Tron exists now, and some of those a little bit higher velocity things that really, when I first went on Rock and Roller Coaster, they didn't exist elsewhere. So now, there are at least a couple more quote unquote thrilling options than there
It is
used to be.
still the only one that flips you, though, right?
Flips you?
Like where you flip.
I
don't think anywhere.
Based on the harness system, I would think so, right?
I was just trying to think like other rides at Disney that you might go upside down, but I don't think there are. So
yeah, so there's still a level of uniqueness. I guess I don't even, because you're in the dark, I guess you don't notice the flips.
Oh, I do. But anyway.
So Slinky Dog Dash, fun roller coaster. Nobody's ever going to accuse it of being the most intense thing, but it's fun. And yeah, especially when we're able to get the lightning lane for it. Yeah, that would be my number one. With Rock and Roller Coaster being the like it, and Tower of Terror, I just have no interest whatsoever in drop rides. So that is my leave it. Though aesthetically, of the three,
you don't want to leave it because it is.
Yeah, that like in terms of it being one of the weenies of the park, that would make it difficult. It would be weird to see
without that landscape.
Exactly. But if we're talking about the ride itself.
Yep. And I think that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I'll go with. I started when I thought about
thinking it.
Yeah, when I thought about the aesthetics of the whole thing, then I was just like, man, that leaves a big hole.
But they could still have the building without the ride.
That's true. You could do that. But usually they don't just leave a building. Oh, that's not true, because remember we had the story in the last episode. Was it the last episode or a recent episode about how they had completely left Cranium Command the way that it was, and somebody stole Buzzy? So I suppose, yeah, they do just leave things.
Or they could just create a new ride in there like they did in the Chinese theater.
That's true.
So.
That's true.
So the landscape doesn't have to go.
All right, so the next one we've got these are the Star Wars.
Oh, they got their own category?
Yeah. Well, there are three of them, so it made sense to put them together. We've got Millennium Falcon, Smuggler's Run, Star Tours, and Rise of the Resistance.
Love it, Rise. Like it, Star Tours. Leave it, Smugglers.
I'm a little surprised by that, because I know that you haven't been a huge fan of Star Tours in the past, or at least you vocalized previously that it's not your favorite.
Yeah, but I feel like and I guess flying the Falcon was cool. When we had that role. But when you and I went on it back a couple years ago, I did like it just felt not as exciting. And maybe it's because there were like the panels.
Yeah, it was still COVID time.
But I was even talking to a friend of mine who just got back from Disney, and they did the Star Wars ones. And he said he was, a little disappointed with Smugglers. And I said, yeah, that's, they spent all their budget on Rise and then had to use what was left over to make the one in the Falcon. So, yeah, I mean, Star Tours I like. I just and it's the same thing with Smugglers. Like, there's like a few times where like the virtual reality of it kind of throws me. But no, I think I'd rather Star Tours than Smugglers. But obviously Rise is the Love It.
Yeah, the Love It is the obvious one here. It's Rise of the Resistance. I'm having a really hard time with this because I feel like I can't give Smuggler's Run a fair assessment because I've never flown the Falcon.
Sorry.
Like I wasn't, that wasn't being accusatory. It was just like I've never experienced that part of it. So
I know you wanted to so bad.
I wanted to so bad. But like I had said previously when we talked about it, I was afraid that I was gonna like get, you know,
annoyed at Meghan.
Yeah, it's just like stop crashing. But I think, and I am going to, no, I won't do that. I was going to project into the future a little bit, but we already set the rule that it's so I will say Rise of the Resistance, Star Tours, even though I don't love all of the new storylines in Star Tours, like I like the idea that I can get on the thing multiple times and
possibly
have
get a
different adventure every time. And then Smuggler's Run would be my leave it. I am curious to see how they're going to integrate the Mandalorian and Grogu into Smuggler's Run. Apparently, and I didn't have a chance to really read into this, but apparently the engineers, which are the people who are in the back, which I think is where we were the first time that they're going to have new tasks involved with this that are specific to taking care of Baby Yoda.
Oh, that's interesting.
So,
no,
and I don't know what
future,
that right.
So
I'm not judging the future.
It could be totally stupid.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they do with that, because I feel like that's an odd melding of Star Wars properties. So I'm curious to see how that works out. But in the present, Rise of the Resistance, Star Tours, and then Smuggler's Run. Okay, so we had the next one is shows, and we had more shows than we couldn't do.
So there's 2 show categories, or is there?
No, there is one show category because there weren't enough shows to do 2 sets of shows. So I randomized it, and these are the 3 that popped out for the shows.
Okay,
category.
So some are left off.
Some are left off here. So if anybody's going, well, wait a minute, where's so and so? This was a random selection here. So we've got the Beauty and the Beast show, Muppet Vision 3D, and the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular.
Okay, so the best one's not there. Well, first off, I'm going to say Love It is Frozen, but based on these 3, I have to think a little bit more. Is it just Frozen that's missing?
Well, we'll get to that.
Oh, okay. Is Frozen going to come up later?
Yes.
Okay, but in terms of shows, it's not in this category.
It's not in this. It's not a show. It's not in the show category.
All right, I'm still going to give it a Love It, but now I will do Love It, Like It, Leave It based on those 3. And I have a hard time with this one because 2 of them we haven't seen probably in the last 5 years, if not more.
It's been a while.
And honestly, as fun as Muppets is, there's a reason it's leaving. And it's not just to make room, I don't think. Because honestly, how many times have we walked by and seen no one there? And then, of course,
I have a theory on that, but I'll let you continue.
And then on the last 6 months, all of a sudden it's packed because it's going away and people aren't going to see it again. So again, from what I recall, I think I would do, from what I recall, I would do Love It as Indiana Jones. I recall we saw it a few times and I do like it. And I think, we talked about going this past time, but just, Frozen has our life at this point. So there's only so much time we have. But I think that, next time Meghan would enjoy seeing parts of it too. We'd have to make sure she knows it's not real. But
right.
And then I think I'll do Muppets, followed by Beauty and the Beast. I think if Beauty and the Beast had some air conditioning, it might be higher on the list. And truthfully, I've only seen that show once or twice. I remember really liking it, but like there's nothing huge that stands like that I can be like, oh, I remember this from it. Whereas like with Indiana Jones, even though I haven't seen it for a while, I remember like different pieces of it.
Right.
And not just the pieces that were in Full House. That's how I know.
Oh boy. Okay.
That's how I first learned about that show.
All right. So I am going to go with Love It, Muppet Vision.
I knew you would.
And I think that the lack of interest in Muppet Vision has less to do with the quality of the show and more to do with Disney's inability to create new Muppet content that resonates with
a younger generation.
Right. If they had been successful in that, I think that show still would have.
And we've
more
talked about
staying
that
power.
before too.
So, you could argue, there could be a little bit of a chicken and the egg argument here, but I think that is much more driven by the fact that Disney has not been able to consistently figure out what to do with the Muppets now. And even when there are some pretty good Muppet properties that have come out, like, I mean, the Muppet Christmas Carol is a classic. I believe that,
but even that's old. It's
right. I believe they did Muppet Treasure Island, which was a lot of fun. There was even one Muppets in Space that I remember taking.
I vaguely. Yeah.
I remember taking my cousin Justin to that. But Justin was like
Justin's
Meghan's
30.
age.
Like, so clearly it's.
So they had some successes with it, but those are so long ago at this point.
Well, right. Like Justin's 30. Like, so it's.
So
younger than you, but still more in our generation.
Right.
Than.
But for me, Muppet Vision 3D is my love. Indiana Jones is my like. For a lot of the same reasons that you mentioned already. It's a super fun show, and there are a lot of different elements and things going on, and that whole thing with the spears coming out from the floor, it impresses me every time. Like, I know that they've rehearsed that time and time again,
right?
But
it's still, you gotta, yeah.
And then the last one, Leave It, is Beauty and the Beast. Again, I enjoyed the show, but it's also something we haven't gone back and seen it any time since, the time that we saw it. So
I also feel like, and this is, Disney can't do a whole lot about it. A lot of those live shows
happen around the same time,
right?
Don't they?
And so if you want to sit in shows for a few hours at a time and kind of go between, then you can. But we also do a lot of other things.
Right.
So, in an ideal world, we could maybe see a show, then do some rides, and then see a show again. But especially with lightning lanes and wait times, it doesn't always work out like that. So, we always pretty much commit to seeing at least one show when we're there. But I recall, again, same thing. I know we're not at Animal Kingdom. We've always wanted to see that Nemo show. But Lion King gets priority.
Right.
And so it just, when you have ones that are amazing, it's hard to balance it out.
Okay, so the next two groups that we have are meet and greets. There's a lot of those at Hollywood Studios. So the first one is meet Olaf at the Celebrity Spotlight.
Yeah.
Meet Disney stars at Red Carpet Dreams. That's the
Minnie and Mickey.
And meet Disney Junior pals in the animation courtyard.
All right. I'm going to do Love It as Mickey and Minnie because, well, it's Mickey. And it's Sorcerer Mickey, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's, it's always fun to meet Sorcerer Mickey. I think that's the only spot where you can meet him in that outfit. Plus there's that whole, Meghan as a baby, which I know, we're not supposed to factor all that in, but the Meghan as a baby, Mickey peeking at her thing, which we've talked about before. Like it, I think the Disney Junior. We didn't do that this past time, but I mean, Pluto's always there.
Yep.
And then the others are kind of, I mean, I forget we've met
there's
Vampirina.
Doc McStuffins
yeah.
is there, and Fancy Nancy.
Okay. So none that we've been like super into. We did meet Vampirina when Meghan was in a Vampirina phase.
Yeah.
But again, Pluto there, he's always there. He's fun. And generally there, the wait times tend to be pretty short. And I think because people are like, oh, it's Disney Junior. So that, and you can get there's 4 typically. So you can get 4 in a fairly short window. And then Olaf, although this past time it was really short to meet Olaf. But again, if I'm waiting 20 minutes to meet 4 characters or 20 minutes to meet 1, I'm gonna go with the 4.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I would say similarly. Obviously, Mickey and Minnie is the love it. I'm gonna go with the animation courtyard, the Disney Junior Pals, for a couple of reasons. Now, the line is typically shorter, but the lines are also out in the sun, which is a little, a little bit of a problem. But if you can deal with that, you're right. The lines tend to be shorter. The one thing also that for me is a tipping point is they're actually photographers, whereas Olaf's was the box that's just flashing pictures. Which I really dislike. I think that's one of those things too that it takes some of the magic away too from the meeting Mickey at the Town Square Theater at Magic Kingdom is the magic box that's taking pictures.
Because it's going constantly, but they don't always catch
you're right. It's just an automated thing. It's almost like in my head, I'm trying to time it, as opposed to
their assistant that hangs out with them will pause it at the end to make sure that you've got a snapshot of everyone looking. They do that every time.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't have the instincts that a real photographer has to capture those moments, especially those candid moments, and sometimes those are just luck too. But if there's an actual physical person behind the camera, it's much more natural and much easier to capture those moments.
Yeah, no,
those are the special things.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I will put, and of course, yes, meeting 4 at once is, and Pluto has been great there.
Yeah, we love Pluto.
There. Pluto stole Megan's bubble wand once, and but yeah, so Mickey and Minnie are obviously love it. The Disney Junior Pals like it, and meet Olaf, leave it. So the next group is meet the Pixar Pals in Pixar Plaza. Meet the toys in Toy Story Land, or meet the characters at the Star Wars launch bay.
We haven't done launch bay. Has Meghan ever? No, she did, I think, when she was little, but
yeah, there are pictures of baby Meghan with Chewbacca.
I think I'm gonna go with the Pixar as my love it. We did that just for the first time last time. And that was a lot of fun. And we got there were some pretty good pictures that came out from there. But again, And I'm not sure if it was just luck our day, but some of them had like Sully. We waited probably a good 15 minutes to meet Sully, but the others were no more than 10 minutes. I mean, I don't think we were in that whole section more than 40 minutes.
Yeah. And Sully, it was, Sully needed to go.
Sully did need to go check on Mike. But of course, it's Sully too. Like,
right.
He's very popular. So, whereas not everyone is going to meet Edna Mode. But so I think that was a lot of fun. So I'll go with that. And for similar to like the toys, not Toy Story, the Disney Junior, like there's a bunch of characters over there. And so that was cool. It's hard because we've only met Buzz for Meet the Toys. We've never met like Woody or Jessie. And those lines are always crazy. I've always wanted, like, we met them in a race once, but we didn't, we've never met them there. And this was the first time we've met Buzz. And in the launch bay, it's Chewie and
BB-8 and usually
Kylo Ren, but maybe,
or sometimes Darth Vader.
Yeah, so one of the bad guys.
Yeah.
All right, so Love It is Pixar. I think I'll do Like It as the launch bay. If nothing else, air conditioning. And then Leave It, I'll do the toys. Mostly because on top of it, we haven't done all the toys there. So if it was really a Love It, then we'd make a point to meet the toys.
Yeah, I'm a big Star Wars fan, so the launch bay is the Love It. It's lost a little bit of the novelty now that like Chewie is walking around Galaxy's Edge too. So there's another
you might be able to catch him.
Chewie. But I've loved meeting Chewie. The BB-8.
That's fun.
BB-8 is interactive. So so we've done Launch Bay a couple times with her, because she was older and we did
we might have only done BB-8. We might not have done the others, but yeah, I do remember she was older and she met Baby 8.
Baby 8, yes. Yeah. It wasn't until just recently that he stopped being Baby 8.
I know.
But
anyway,
she's growing up. And so my Like It will be the Pixar pals. Like there were a lot to meet there. There were a lot of fun. I mean, Frozone was just like walking around. So, and that's a cool area. We've never been in that area before, so it was nice to kind of just check it out. And I feel like Joy was almost like the forgotten one there. There was a lot of excitement for like Mrs. Incredible and certainly Sully, and even I think that there's still some novelty to Edna Mode.
Yeah.
And she has her own like kind of cult kind of appreciation.
We didn't have any weight for her, but yeah, she does have people who are like obsessed with her.
Yeah. So
I also think it was Joy's location, because she was right off to the left when we first came in. And so when you walk in, you see Sully and Mrs. Incredible down the end. So I think a lot of people kind of headed down that way. And then as you're working your way out, you don't see her like where she's placed. You could easily walk right by her too. Mm-hmm. So
that's fair. And then Leave It is the toys in Toy Story Land. Not because I don't like them or wouldn't like to meet them. I'm sorry, Toy Story Land, especially with its lack of shade, I'm not standing in a line like that to meet them. I'm just not. It's too hot most of the time. So that's the Leave It for me. Okay, now we're getting into a couple of dining. Now, there isn't enough, at least that we've experienced, sit down and or quick service to have a sit down and a quick service category. There's some places that we haven't eaten or
we haven't done a lot there.
There may have been one or two places on the list I'm just like, I don't remember. And if I don't remember, then it's it's not going to make the list. So, so I did put the ones that we have done in the randomizer. So we have 2 categories. And the first one is sci-fi, dine-in theater, Hollywood and Vine, and 50s Primetime Cafe.
Love it is Hollywood and Vine, mostly because of the character meet and greet. Food's fine. It's, it's nothing amazing, but you get to meet the characters. And we've only done dinner, but I think they do Disney Junior at breakfast there too. So like whatever meal you have, you're meeting characters. Like it was, you said 50s Primetime was the other. Yeah. I think we only went there once, but I do remember enjoying it. And leave it as sci-fi.
Yeah.
Sci-fi is dumb. But anyway, if you love sci-fi, I'm sorry. You're all entitled to your own opinion, but so am I. I just thought it was boring. Like, yes, sitting in a car was cool for like 30 seconds, and you know what? I betcha a teenager, like Maureen's family or something like that, the boys, they would love something like that because you can't be social.
Yeah.
So you get to think, but yeah, no, food was fine. It was nothing amazing. And the atmosphere, I just didn't like. It wasn't for me.
Yeah. I went with Hollywood and Vine as my love it. Again, it's the characters. Now, obviously, it's a little bit of a cheat because the other 2 don't have characters, but that's what sets this apart, really. I mean, and as far as buffet food goes, it's pretty good, but especially you'll see them, especially in some snazzy costumes. So that's a lot of fun, and they do a great job there, at least in our experience, in making the rounds and doing it so that you're not sitting there like waiting for the last character, and it's just like, no, we can't go yet, we're waiting on so and so. But then they also are spending enough time at your table that it's worthwhile. So then I would do 50s Primetime Cafe. I thought about that like for our last trip, but then I was just like, with the servers yelling at you to get your elbows off the table, I thought that Meghan might find that a bit jarring. But it's fun. It's unique theming, and that's that I like.
Yeah. And I remember the food being good.
And while the sci-fi has unique theming, it just doesn't work for me. Like you were talking about, why the kids would love it because they wouldn't have to be social. I hated it because I was sitting eating with my back turned to you guys.
Yeah.
Like it, and the food wasn't great. And how many times can you watch the same clips of
they need to make that longer
over and over again? Like, especially if the service is going to be as slow as it was. Now, granted, they were still coming out of COVID when we were there. So, I give them a little bit there, but it was just like, I've seen this same loop 11 times now, so that one, leave it. If it got boarded up tomorrow, it's tough to be a bug level, which like I actually like did a fist bump that day, when it closed. It's not that level.
Stay on task.
This is all related.
That's true.
It's not that level, but it is something that, like Meghan on the last trip said, "What's that?" And I said, "Nothing." And we kept moving. Okay, so the next round of eateries is the Roundup Rodeo, the Backlot Express, and Woody's Lunchbox.
Backlot Express is like,
it's the quick service that's over by,
we've gone there a few times, right?
Yeah. It's between,
like back by like Indiana Jones.
Right. It's between Indiana Jones and Star Tours.
Love it is Woody's Lunchbox. I mean, we've spoken about the lemonades and the grilled cheese before, so obviously that's my love it. Like it, I think would be the Backlot Express. Again, I haven't eaten there in a few years, but I recall like, and again, so based on what I remember from it, the food was pretty good. Had some options, and then leave it would be the Roundup Rodeo. Yes, that's what it's called.
Yep.
I liked it. I thought it was fun. I probably will go back there again. But I feel like some of the food could definitely use some improvement. But I still ate a bunch of it anyway because it was all you can eat. Yeah, I didn't love any of the food there, but I didn't like super dislike any of the food there. But I definitely like ate more than I would have. But I did like the inside was a lot of fun.
All right, so we are in agreement on Woody's lunchbox being the love it. The lemonades are just, especially in that area where it's so hot.
Yeah.
They're really refreshing. The grilled cheese we've talked about. I actually got the brisket grilled cheese the last time, and that was good. Brisket grilled cheese, pork grilled cheese. I think it was brisket, but it was some kind of. It was like a barbecue grilled cheese. So that was really good. I also it's as much as we may try to duplicate it at home, we haven't quite been able to duplicate the grilled cheese.
No, but we've made a pretty good version.
And if anybody's interested, I did do a TikTok on that for the Maz's Musings podcast TikTok. So go ahead and check it out. There's even like the link to where you can find the recipe, because it's not my recipe. It's the Disney Park Blogs recipe. So, but the food there is good enough that we're trying to replicate it at home.
Yeah.
So that's enough of a selling point. Then I'm going to go with the Roundup Rodeo. I agree with you that the food was not spectacular. I think I liked it a little bit better than you did. And like that, it was just such a fun atmosphere there. And that to me was like, if you have just okay, mediocre food, but like you're in a fun place.
Yeah, it was a lot of
better,
fun.
You know, it's a better experience as opposed to like sci-fi where it's mediocre food and I'm just like, okay, when am I getting out of here?
Yeah.
And then Backlot Express, again, it's fine, but it's typical quick service food. So there's nothing that sets it apart. If that were to go away, some other quick service would probably take its place. So so that's my leave it, is the Backlot Express.
Yeah, I might change my mind, but we also don't do a lot of like, we usually do a sit down dinner.
Yeah.
And bring our own lunches. So it's hard to gauge some of those quick services.
Also speaks more to Woody's lunchbox even more, because we are more apt to schedule ourselves to have a lunch at Woody's lunchbox, which normally we will bring our lunch to the parks.
Yeah. If nothing else, we're always getting a lemonade.
Yeah. All right. So those are the existing attractions, food, rides, etc. that I had for this list. So I have 3 things that are coming either in the near future or are going to be coming for sure. I left the Muppets being part of Rock and Roller Coaster off of that because I'm not sure that's going to happen.
Anyway, yeah.
The fact that we haven't seen anything on that after what was a really tepid response to that suggests to me they may be rethinking that. So the 3 that I have are the Monsters Inc.
That land, yeah.
Including the coaster. And there are 2 shows, the Disney Villains Unfairly Ever After and The Little Mermaid, A Musical Adventure.
I think I'm gonna do the Love It is the Monsters Inc. I know. I'm excited to see. I might be too afraid to do the roller coaster, but I'm hoping it'll fit like with Disney, like not too intense. And I like Monsters Inc. And I think it will lend itself nicely to have like an area. I do wonder if like Sully will move to over there, like a meet and greet over there.
Oh, I'm sure.
And maybe we can meet Mike Wazowski too.
I feel like that would be a harder thing to pull off.
Well, I mean, it's possible. We meet Olaf. We meet,
we did meet Baby Yoda, and he talked to us. So, or well, cooed at us.
He made noises at us.
Yeah.
And then Little Mermaid, and then villains. And I think the reason I picked Monsters Inc. Land as opposed to Little Mermaid, because obviously you know how I feel about Little Mermaid, is because that'll be a whole experience versus just one thing.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think that we have the same rankings here. Now, again, it's not entirely fair. As you are saying, this is an entire area with a lot of different experiences versus singular experiences. So it's probably not a completely fair thing to throw out there, but these were the three things that I could think that are going to be tangibly in the park,
yeah,
in the near future. And we had already talked about Rock and Roller Coaster earlier in its current form. So, but yeah, I'm not thrilled about. So the villains is going to be a leave it. I'm not thrilled about this. I'm not sure exactly how it fits in with Hollywood Studios in the first place. I'm curious as to, and I think I mentioned this before, it may not have been with you, but Disney's trying to insert all this gray into their villains.
Yeah.
And it's just like, sometimes they're just bad people, like, so let's not try to explain away, and like, there's not a gooey center to every bad guy. Now, this may not be that. I may be jumping to a conclusion, but I think that it's perfectly reasonable. Now, if the story lends itself to some kind of more complex background to a bad guy, like, I think that's part of what makes Syndrome work in The Incredibles, is you do have this backstory that explains, what his motivation is. But then there are just like heinous people in the world. Like, you don't need an explanation as to why Cruella de Vil wants to, club puppies, to make a coat. She's just a bad person. So that is my leave it. Monsters Inc., I think, as much as I'm going to miss the Muppets, I think that having those immersive spaces are really the way to go, and Disney's shown that they can do those really well.
Yeah.
And then The Little Mermaid, the only thing that has me wondering is there are a couple of new songs that they're going to be putting in this. Now, are these songs that are from the live action one?
I don't know.
Because if you're inserting a little bit of Lin-Manuel Miranda in there, then that, is probably a good thing for the show. But if these are completely new, I'm curious as to
how it'll work and how it'll fit in. Yeah.
So,
well, we'll have to see it.
It would also, I think that it's also going to make it a longer show. So, that'll be it'll be interesting to see. So, that is going to wrap up our Love It, Like It, Leave It for Hollywood Studios. Anything else you'd like to say or that you thought of, or anything you want to change?
No, I really was just, you mentioned earlier you'd come to Frozen later. You did.
Oh, we skipped that one, did we? I think we did. I'm sorry.
So I've been waiting to see. Do you have like a leftover category?
I'm
or
sorry.
something?
Yes, there was a leftover category. I skipped over that when I went from the shows to the meet and greets. So I apologize. We've got one more. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I got ahead of myself. So this is a catch-all category. This is kind of like experiences. And so it's the Disney Junior Play and Dance, the Frozen Sing-Along, and Oga's Cantina. So a true catch-all.
Love It is the Frozen. That is.
Please stop doing that.
Yeah, no, but it's like weird the way. Anyway, so my Love It is Frozen. Like It is Oga's. And Leave It is the Disney Junior Dance Party. I just think Frozen, they do a really great job of appealing to both the adults and the kids there. Oga's is great. I love the drinks. The atmosphere is really cool. I sometimes struggle with like the sharing of a table thing. And it's not the end of the world. It definitely works better in certain areas, like, at a high top where you can be across from each other or something. I think that works a little bit better. But it's a little different. We shared tables on the cruise, but you're with the same people for a few days at a time. So you can like get to know them, have conversation. Whereas at Oga's, you might have two different, the last time we were there, we had two different people or two different parties that were at our table. So it was just like, that's like drinks, top notch, atmosphere inside's really cool. But the sharing of a table sometimes, especially depending on what kind of a table it is, can throw me off. Leave It. I love the Disney Junior Dance Party, but I think, sitting on the floor, I could do without that. But it is a great spot for kids to, like, young kids, go there because it's a great spot for them to, do their
Blow off
thing.
some steam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do not overlook it. Do not sleep on it. It's entertaining enough for parents too, Okay, so I might surprise you with this one. My Love It is Frozen. And, the last time that we watched that show, like I was belly laughing.
Yes.
At the
last
royal
time was amazing.
The royal historians.
But they're always good.
And whether or not you're a fan of Frozen, whether you are, whether you're Tom from the Hyperion Adventures podcast who #RealMenLoveFrozen, or you're just a guy who's going to that because you've got a little girl who likes Frozen, you're gonna have fun at this show. Like they have crafted this show in such a way that it's entertaining for everybody. So that is, as far as I'm concerned, top-notch Disney. So
Yes.
Oga's is my Like It, I think, for a lot of the reasons that you mentioned already. And I know that this is supposed to be us, but I think I'm cheating a little bit because I do have a harder time justifying bringing Meghan in there without a guarantee that we're going to be able to sit.
Yeah.
At her age now, like when we went there initially, they could get
They
her
could get her the
high
chair,
and that was
so she could be
thing.
up at the table with us. And
now she's at an age where she might be standing at a table that
her
is
head
to her head level, so so that, if it's you and me, it's higher up on the list. But if so many times it's not just you and me. So
Right.
it's an extra so for me, it's an extra consideration when I'm deciding whether or not I want to try to book that. And then Leave It is the Disney Junior dance party, which is, again, it's fun. Meghan's had some fun there as well. Me watching it as a parent, is,
Yeah.
it's again, it's entertaining, but that one is clearly driven towards the kids. So, the entertainment for the parents is largely drawn from watching your kids have fun. So that is my Leave It. Okay, so now we are complete. Thank you for making mention of that, because I think because I saw Disney Junior, so I was thinking
The
of
meet
the
and greet.
meet and greet, and
Yeah,
so
no,
I
I
skipped
just,
over on the list.
especially because you told me wait
Yeah.
when I tried to give Frozen its own category. You told me to wait. So, all right.
All right, so we are now we're going to wrap it up. Do you have anything that you'd like to add, amend, or any other thoughts like about Hollywood Studio that came up while we were discussing this?
No, but if you want to go visit Hollywood Studios or anywhere else, who do you call?
We Do Travel Right.
You can take over now. I just decided to take your line.
That's great. Well, We Do Travel Right, of course, has that concierge level service with the one-on-one service of an agent. And they've got things like the dining team who can help you get all of those hard to book dining reservations. Or honestly, even if they aren't hard to book, you don't have to wake up super early 60 days out and book those, because somebody's going to do that for you. They can also show you all the ins and outs of getting around the parks and getting around the resorts and how to use the app. They actually have study halls and seminars where they can show you how to do all of this stuff. And they provide regular updates on things that are going on in the parks, changes that might happen between when you book and when you're going on your trip.
If a discount pops up after you've booked, they'll make it work for you.
Yeah. They can help you. They can help you save money because they know all of these ins and outs, and it's really great. And between the amount of money you can save and the amount of time and frustration that you can save, it's totally worth it. And speaking of money, what's the best thing about We Do Travel Right?
It's free.
That's right. We Do Travel Right doesn't charge you anything for the service. And that is because Disney pays them for you.
Sorry, I didn't know that. That's not usually one of my lines.
So Disney or Universal or cruise lines or all-inclusives, they all build the use of an agent into their pricing. So it just makes sense to use the agent, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So if you are ready to get your free, obligation-free quote, whether you know that you're taking a trip or you just are feeling around to see if this is something you want to do, can do, if it's right for your family, you can go to wedotravelright.com/Mazza. That's wedotravelright.com/MAZA, and get your next magical vacation started today.
Now I can't do any more damage around this popsicle stand.
So long, partner.
See you real soon.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in to this episode of the Maz's Musings podcast. And thanks to everybody who has liked or subscribed. That is one of the best ways for people to find our podcast, is when people subscribe. When people leave reviews, whether it's a 5 stars or a thumbs up or whatever it is on the podcatcher you use, all that stuff kind of bumps us up in the algorithms that decide who's going to be more visible. So every time you do that, it's great because it helps more people find us and helps us grow this community. Also, our community is growing through our interactions. We are all over social media. We are at the Maz's Musings podcast Facebook page. We are also on Twitter, X, Instagram, and Threads at Maz's Musings Pod. We are on TikTok at Maz's Musings Podcast, and we are also on Blue Sky. You can also reach out to us by just emailing mazasmusings@gmail.com. And of course, you can find all this information and more by simply going to our website, mazasmusings.wordpress.com. There you will find more info on the podcast. You'll find past episodes. You'll find places where you can listen, or you can stream directly from the website. And while you're there, you can also subscribe to our newsletter. Now, the newsletter comes out every week, and it will let you know about upcoming episodes, what you might have missed in past episodes. We will shout out other podcasts, and we'll also let you know other kinds of news or fun things that are going on, sweepstakes, contests, things that we find interesting that we think you'll find interesting as well. And if you wanted to take your support of the podcast just a little bit further, there is a button there to buy us a blue milk. Now, buying us a blue milk is a small way to show your appreciation for the podcast and help us with some of those small costs that go into putting this all together. However you decide you want to support us, it is greatly appreciated. And as always, I hope you have a great weekend and a great week.